Hello everyone, welcome. I'm making this podcast, and it's in a series of podcasts which are called, which under the heading of Changing Your Life, and that's what I hope I can do, as well as change my own life for the better as well. And this one is about compassion. As you know, I've said, well, I would try, also, what I'm trying to do with these podcasts is get myself a bit better organised as regards the timing of them. So I'm going to try and do a podcast every week. I can't guarantee that I will, but that's what I aim to do. So we'll see how it goes. And I hope they're helping you. I've told you before that I go swimming, and I've just come back from swimming. And it was, I enjoyed my swim. I always do. And I enjoy afterwards going in, they have a sauna in the steam room. I go in the sauna. But this morning, it was terrible. And not because of the swim, because of what happened. And what happened was people were getting upset with a particular young woman who obviously had mental health issues and was kicking off. The wrong way to use, not very technical, is it? And they were getting upset about her behaviour, and she was taken out of the pool in the end, screaming and shouting. And it was terrible, because people in the pool were saying, in the other lanes, as I'm swimming one way, they're swimming the other, saying, oh, it shouldn't be allowed, people like her shouldn't be in, I've come here for a nice peaceful swim, and look what's happening, and etc. Now, there's one lady in particular said that, well, more than that, but the one that was in the next lane to me, I kind of disagreed with her and said, well, you know, what do you want to do? Have her locked up, put in a padded cell, given her an injection. Sorry, I shouldn't. I should edit this, but anyway, that's what I said. And I say things sometimes that I shouldn't say. Now, there's a bit of history to this, because I've been going swimming for years, and I've noticed this young woman swimming. And at one time, and maybe I would say about 2 years ago, if people looked at her while she was, well, in her mind, she used to shriek out, "Don't look at me. What are you looking at? Don't look at me." And so I think people got the message that you didn't look at her. She always comes with an attendant who sits by the side of the pool. And I've noticed for certainly the last year that she just swims and doesn't say anything to anybody, and nobody says anything to her. She obviously enjoys swimming, and there is a supervisor at the side of the pool, and so really there's no problem. But what happened today was that she started shouting at her while she was swimming, shouting that, well, instead of one supervisor turning up, two did. Now, you've got to remember that in this pool there is also a pool attendant. But for whatever reason, the supervisors are there. There was two of them. As well as the usual woman, there was a man. And she was shrieking, and she got out of the pool and started shrieking and yelling in front of the face of the man, saying things like, "Stop looking at me, I'm like a prisoner, leave me alone, don't crowd me, keep your distance," etc. I mean, what I am saying is, apart from the shrieking and the screaming, the loud voice, she was very articulate. She obviously felt imprisoned. It was, "Leave me alone, I'm like being in a prison," things like that. I can't remember exactly. And so eventually she was escorted out of the pool. And as I'm swimming, I could see from the windows that she left the centre with these carers. And it was then that this lady in the next swimming lane to me started complaining about that shouldn't be allowed and she shouldn't be here. And I disagreed with her, and I just said, well, I mentioned the word compassion. And I also said, she's ill. She is ill. And I noticed a chap next to me in my lane. He echoed the same thing. He said, she's ill. And, that's it. There's the answer. We all get ill, and she's ill. And, the fact that she was ill in public, when she normally isn't like that, just as this part of life. So that was that. And I had my swim. And when I got out, I went into the sauna. Now, when I got into the sauna, there was people already in the sauna who were discussing this incident. They'd been in the pool, witnessed all this, and the general consensus was, this shouldn't be like, she shouldn't be allowed to be swimming with us lot, normal people. What's normal? And I said, well, I'm sorry. I mean, how can I put it? Often in the sauna, there are these discussions, and I remain quiet. I just listen, and actually I learn quite a lot. And there's a lot said that is common sense. But I think there is also a lot said, including myself, from ignorance and biases and misunderstandings. And that's just why I had to speak up this morning. Was I just said, well, I'm sorry. We can all get like that, and I know she's ill. And see, maybe the fact that, well, in my view, the fact that there was an extra attendant there watching her had upset her, and maybe something earlier this morning where she is ever housed, or the centre where she is. I don't know anything about that, but maybe she'd started kicking off and being like that earlier, and that's why the extra assistant or carer had come with her, and this had obviously upset her because she obviously felt that this was kind of a bit of an oppression, a bit of being supervised too closely. I think she also said, my life doesn't feel like my own, and I can relate. I think we can all relate to that when we've been controlled, when we don't want to be, and sometimes maybe we do need to be controlled a little bit, especially when we're on, kind of having a kind of we flip. So I told, what I'm saying is, naturally, I said my piece in the sauna, and I told them two stories. One was that I used to go swimming with my wife when she was around, when she was alive, and same place, etc. And we always do 20 lengths. Now, this is not an Olympic-sized pool. It's a half-sized pool. So, I don't know, 20 lengths is probably a third of a mile. And so I count the lengths. And it was a thing me and my wife used to do. Oh, we've done 2, we've done 3. And I noticed that sometime after 10 lengths, my wife used to say it was 10 lengths. She would say, no, say 12 lengths. She would say, no, it's 14 lengths. And I used to say, no, it isn't. It's 12, or whatever it was. And she used to do this, and it used to upset me because I started to lose my count. And she used to do this every week after a while. She had Alzheimer's. And at one time, she kept insisting that we'd done what the amount of lengths that she thought we'd done, and I kept correcting her and all the rest of it, which I shouldn't have done. I should know better. But I lost my rag with her, and it was that type of pool where you could stand up in because it's got a flat bottom. There's no deep end, and I remember standing up and I shouted. I didn't shriek. I shouted, and everybody turned round. And I felt a bit embarrassed, and my wife must have felt embarrassed, but I just shouted, no, it's not 15, we've only done 13 or something like that, I don't know. Anyway, the thing was, when we got, it wasn't then, I think it was the next week, I was, kind of one of the chaps, there's one or two blokes who go swimming, caught my attention, and he said, see what he said to me, he says, do you know, he said, it surprised me the other week when you shouted at your wife because I thought you had a perfect marriage. Well, I mean, I was married to my wife for nearly 56 years. We did have a perfect marriage, but we still had rows and disagreements, and I lost my rag sometimes, and I shouldn't have done. And, you know, it surprised me, that comment, that here was this guy saying, oh, look at you, you know, losing your temper, you know, the happily married couple type of thing, you know, the Darby and Jones of this world. And I thought, well, you know, there you go. People start judging. People start making their opinions known. Why shouldn't they? It didn't mean any harm. But a second story. Now, and this was just before my wife died. Things were getting worse with her Alzheimer's. And I can't even remember what it was. It's something that she'd done that had kind of thrown me yet again. And I was at my wit's end. And I remember losing my temper with my wife and actually, well, not shouting, but screaming or shrieking at the top of my voice. I'm sorry, because my wife had got upset. I'd said something to my wife, don't do that, or you're wrong, or this, that, to the which I shouldn't have done. But I was at the end of my tether. It can happen. And I lost it. I lost the plot. And she said something to me, don't shout or get upset, stop it. And I just then, as I said, I broke down, I started crying, I started shrieking, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm weak. I'm sorry, I cannot stand this. I'm sorry, I've kind of lost my temper, I'm just sorry. And do you know what my wife said to me? She said, well, I'm sorry that I'm ill. How do you think I felt? She was sensible enough to know she was ill, and she was apologising for it, and she had no need to do that. We all get ill. We can all lose our rag. And, you know, just switching it a little bit in today's world, well, certainly years ago, that the answers were for people who really lost the plot, like that young lady, that young woman in the pool, would be, they would give them a chemical kosh. I don't know what they do nowadays. Certainly in those days, there used to be padded cells for people. You'd throw them into a cell which was padded, let them vent out their anger. And all I know is that certainly things like that don't seem to work. But what am I to know? What it seems to me, though, is that if people on both sides can understand their situation better, so get an understanding of why they feel like that, and this is why I do these podcasts, is that we get a better understanding of everything. And that if people try to understand those people that are ill and accommodate them, have a bit of compassion for them, and at the end of the day, you know, I think we've all got to try and love one another a bit more than we do sometimes when things get to us and we get upset. I think we've got to remember is, why is that person upsetting us? Well, they're ill. They've got a particular way of looking at things, and we should be a bit more empathetic, a bit more compassionate, a bit more loving. And the caring would come in by listening to these people, by trying to help them understand themselves and understand the world a little bit more. But that comes for us as well. The carers, the husbands, the wives, the the nurses, the doctors, who I'm sure do understand, because it must be difficult for them in mental institutions. I don't know what they call them nowadays, but I think you know what I mean. In care facilities where people are kind of being awkward. And if only we could have more money, I'm giving me a little talk now, a little bit more money invested and spent along those lines, then we would reap the wind, because it would become a better world for them and for us. A lot of things would be, if it cost whatever it costs, it would pay itself back with mankind tenfold, a thousandfold. And so that's all. I don't wish to preach, but we all get it wrong, and I hope you don't judge me for what I've just said. Yeah, I mean, there we go. Thank you very much for listening. Take care.